JJ, the CPA here. I have a confession for you. I love the movie, The Wolf of Wall Street. Now, listen, I don't condone Jordan Belfort. I'm sure he's a great guy. Obviously, I've never met him. The movie portrays probably a lot of fiction. It is a movie, but Scorsese, Leonardo, the whole cast. Why does that matter? Why am I confessing that to you? Because you ready for this? Because I keep thinking about this video, and here's what comes to mind. Well, Hector, here's the game plan. So if you've seen Wolf of Wall Street, you know that scene, am I right? Okay, I haven't lost my mind, okay? Just, if you haven't seen the movie, I get it, you lost on the reference, but here's the game plan, okay? On PPP. And I need you to watch all the way to the end. I'm making this quick, but you gotta watch it all the way to the end. You can't just take what you want and leave. Hear me to the end. I'm gonna try and do this under 3 minutes. What? So, here's the game plan on PPP. Did you get it? Did you get it properly? Are you using it properly? Okay? Boom, you're good to go in my opinion, all right? Now, if you're publicly traded, I'm assuming you ain't watching JJ the CPA, maybe, thank you, but if you're a small business, and you know, they define a small business 500 or less employees. I really define a small business like 100 or less employees, kind of like what they do for ERC. I don't know, for me, a small business, probably for most of them, is 50 or less employees. There's way more small businesses that have 10 or less employees than anywhere else. So who am I directing this to? My fellow small business owners. Pick what you think is small that applies to you. But if it's detrimental, if it would be detrimental for you to return that money, okay, then I think you need it. The second is, you know, even if we're thinking, well, there could be a criminal investigation, and it's ridiculous to say criminal investigation. It's just that the SBA is saying it. I mean, Wall Street Journal, Forbes is reporting on it as such. But even if you get a criminal investigation, won't you survive it? Because, you know, what I tell my clients is, so what if we get an IRS audit from the standpoint of, I've never had an IRS adjustment. Why? Because we're doing right. We got the documentation. We follow the rules. So I think you hold on to it. Okay? If you're really concerned, then, you know, maybe set it aside, pause, get a bank, draw that bank out of their cubby and help you make a decision about this. And what am I talking about? This aspect where the SBA has definitely made it clear that they're wanting and very much eluding even the private businesses, which is the small businesses, to reevaluate whether or not they needed it, looking at liquidity and looking at whether or not you could get loans. Okay? I am over 3 minutes, dang it. But do watch to the end if you don't mind. But here's how I look at it though, okay? When you look at the CARES Act, it's law. When you look at the CARES Act, what was the intent of it? Okay, and it's clear that Congress's intent was to provide relief for small businesses in this time of you know, where we have this gap, this close down time, right? And why? See, this is the key. Why was that done? So that us small businesses could preserve the assets that we had. We can preserve the cash that's in the bank. We can preserve the line of credit because, by golly, when we're reopening, we're going to need it. I mean, take the restaurant industry. I mean, here in Oklahoma, they can't have any more than 25% max capacity. As they're opening, they need the cash that they had. They need the loans that are available to them. So I really feel like the SBA coming out and doing this, you know, they're doing their job. They're doing what they think's best. But I don't know how the SBA actually overrides law. Now, they can, and if the government allows them to do it. But what I'm saying is this, think of this, the IRS came out and made, here's our interpretation that PPP money that you received, while it's not taxable, you won't be able to deduct the expenses that you're using PPP money for. And Congress is like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like congressional leadership. They're like, hey, listen, IRS, we make the laws. We appreciate you interpreting, But that was not Congress's intent. Now, hey, listen, I don't know what the outcome's going to be of that, but all I'm saying is there's a point right there. I am surprised that we don't have more congressmen and women and senators. Maybe it's just not good politics coming out and maybe defending the small business. Maybe they're going to defend the small business, and then dang it, small businesses, more and more came out that they were, doing this incorrectly. But let me ask you this. When I have clients sign a tax return, and so when you sign a tax return, and then let's apply it to PPP, when you sign that application and you made certifications, I'm assuming that you believed it to be true and correct. So when we look at the IRS, and I understand we're dealing with the SBA on PPP, but you know what? We're still dealing with U.S. Treasury, okay? But here's the deal, believe it or not. When you sign a tax return and you believe it to be true and correct and under penalty of perjury and, all that good stuff, then it was, okay? And the law, I'm not even making this up, this is clear. The law is that if you were to discover a mistake later, okay, like, oh, shoot, the law does not require you to amend the return. That's kind of weird to me. It always has been weird in 27 years. Now, the law does not require you to amend the return. Now, I don't mean like, oh, we got away with that. I'm just saying, if you literally find an error, now, you can amend it, pay the tax. Why would you? The government says, well, in the event of audit, you're going to avoid penalties and interest on the thing. There's some that we'll correct it next year. So I'm not making an opinion on that, but here's what I'm telling you. The U.S. government, U.S. Treasury, Internal Revenue Service, if they're able to say, listen, when you file a tax return, if it's true and correct, then it is. So when we file a loan, when we apply for a loan and we sign it, and we believe it to be true and correct, it is, okay? We signed a binding contract with the bank through the SBA, right? And quite frankly, most banks, you signed a loan document that has a forgiveness provision, but you signed a loan document, right? How in the world do they come back and provide additional provisions? So if you believe you got it fair and square, so to speak, you're using it properly, okay? Why are we returning it? Why would we return this? So here's the game plan, Hector. If you're worried, pause, set it aside. I don't know that you really worry about May 14th. Whoa, I got a big disclaimer in the body of this that you need to read, okay? Because I'm giving my opinion. I'm giving you some information to take back to your advisors. But I don't think we panic on this May 14th. Are you kidding me, SBA? What? We're supposed to do this big analysis, figure out if we needed it, pull on our heartstrings, did we need this? Pause, get with your advisors. Now, your advisors, honestly, whatever I say doesn't mean squat. I don't have any influence over the SBA or your bank, neither does your attorney. Now, your attorney may represent you in court, but them representing you in front of a bank or FDIC, you're the one that has to go before them, okay? You're the one that has to make your case. And then who do you make in your case to? The bank. And who's the bank representing? The SBA. So you do have to determine, and even if you're like, well, I relied on this person, the SBA is going to go, well, I'm glad you relied on your advisors. And here's why I know that to be true. When you're going through an IRS audit, the tax is yours, period, the end. The IRS will not go after the preparer or your advisors or your bookkeeper or your payroll person. The IRS makes it massively clear that it's your responsibility. You're going to pay the interest. You're going to pay the penalties. Now, can you go sue? You sure can, but you know what never, maybe 0.00001, but here's what never you see prevail is if you have a client, a taxpayer, and they have to pay more tax, and they now go and try and sue the CPA, EA, Tax Pro. the courts go, well, I'm sorry, client, the tax is yours. That's not the tax, okay? That is not the responsibility of your preparer, period. It's your return. It's your numbers, okay? So I'm just applying it then to PPP. This is your numbers. And now I'm more saying this as like, okay, now I'm wrapping up. I'm more saying this like, maybe we have a different approach on this, which is one that comes from confidence. One that comes from, listen, I got this. I need it. I'm using it properly. I'm not giving it back. You want to come and question it? I'm going to show you that this is not criminal activity. You want to investigate me? That's okay, because I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not saying it as a challenge at all, right? I mean, who wants to get an investigation or audit or reviewed? So I'm not saying it as, well, then bring it on. No, I'm just saying, seriously, if you haven't done anything wrong, you don't believe you've done anything wrong, your intent wasn't to do anything wrong, you're using it properly, then why would we give it back? I know there's a new standard, but my gosh, if you're 10 or less employees, 50 lesser employees, 100 lesser employees, maybe for some 500, you're a small business. How do you not need this money? How do you not need it? How is it not detrimental for you to return this right now? So you do need to make your own decision on this. I'm not returning mine because I qualified for it and I still qualified for it. Okay? And I'm not even saying it as a rebel. I'm just saying genuinely my intent is pure from beginning to now and the way that I'm using it. So for me, hey, be confident in your position. When you hear criminal investigation, don't freak out over it. When I hear IRS audit, I don't freak out over it. Okay, come take a look. Here's what we did. Here's our records. Here's how this is. You're going to have to do it at the end anyways. You're going to have to go prove your position at the end anyways. So if it happens to be that you're staring down a U.S. Treasury agent or an IRS agent or SBA agent, okay. I mean, they're the one that's ultimately kind of making the decision behind the SBA. So let's not be worried about that. So from my perspective, hold your position, right? Got this group 300 set of videos that kind of just do them for a specific group, but why don't we just hold our position? And if you're that worried about it, and that's okay if you are, right? If you're that worried about it, I think that's almost an indication that you need the money. I think it's an indication that right here, you know you're doing it right. I think if you're afraid of a criminal investigation, for most people, that means that right here, you know you did it right. You're just worried that someone else is going to say that you didn't. So if you're doing it right, my opinion, right, that you're going to have to get with your own advisors. Remember, this is an opinion. My opinion is you keep the money. Okay? You keep it. So think of it this way. We all get in our car and drive. Well, probably most of us. But anyways, we all get in the car and we drive. And if the speed limit's 45 and we're going 45, guess what? A police officer can still pull you over. So if you go 40 in a 45, is there now no chance that a police officer is going to pull you over? What if you went 46? Here's my point on it. You may still get pulled over, right? It may be a tail light. It might be just, you didn't stop at the stop sign. You didn't realize it or whatever the case is. So we don't say, you know what? Well, I'm going to give my car back because my goodness, if I'm going to get pulled over for any reason, then I don't even want to drive. We don't say that, right? So we don't need to apply it in this situation. If you got it properly, you're using it properly. So if you made it to here, I appreciate it. And I'm glad that you did, because I do want to have a caveat on this, is that I really do feel like, though, if you paid out 1099s and that was used to determine your PPP, I do really feel like you need to return that because you just got it in properly. Not your fault. You did get it improperly. It's not just a 1% loan. It's only based on payroll. It's only based on Schedule C, line 31. It's only based on self-employed income for partnership. So if you did get an amount that didn't qualify, you do need to return that, right? Period. I mean, I can threaten you with criminal investigation, but it's just the SBA that's saying, whoa, you got it incorrectly. So it'd just be the same as you get home and the clerk gave you an extra $10, you didn't realize it. Well, you didn't do anything wrong, but now that you realize it, we need to go return it, right? Because just because a clerk gave you an extra $10 doesn't mean you get to keep it, right? You need to go to return it, and once you're aware of it, and if you don't, well, then there's where there's, wrongdoing in the sense of money would be a criminal act, right? I mean, okay, it's $10, I get it. I'm just trying to use an example here, and then if you got it based on your K1 as an S Corp, okay, meaning you have an S Corp, you don't have wages, and you got it based on your S Corp K1, you need to return it because there's nothing in there that says you qualify. If you have a sole proprietorship, and before they came out with the adjustments, if you got PPP money and it included your health insurance or your benefits, which we all thought it did there for a long time, check with your bank. It may not be a very big amount. I mean, it might be $500, $800, right? So I don't think you need to freak out over it, but document by saying, hey, when we did this, it was based on this. And even if you're returning 1099 money, you don't have to go in and, it'd just be the same as if you got extra $10. Everybody's just going to be glad you showed up. When you go to the clerk and like, hey, got all the way home, you gave me an extra $10. Oh my gosh, thank you. They don't throw you in cuffs, right? So point is that if you did get an amount that doesn't qualify, and I'm not talking about now reviewing your liquidity and your loan abilities, okay? I'm talking about like you just flat out got an amount that doesn't qualify, okay? I think you need to get that returned ASAP. And if the bank's like, well, we don't know how to do that, write a letter and say, bank, you inadvertently allowed me to get more than what is allowed. Here's a check. I'd probably postmark it. If it's a decent amount of money, I'd probably send it certified. Just send it to the bank. I mean, pick an address, so to speak, or, but my point is documentation. So I say we come from a standpoint of, you know what? I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not doing anything wrong. I don't plan to do anything wrong. I need this money. The intent was for me to be able to preserve the other assets that I have, the other availability of credit, so that as I'm opening, I'm able to have that. Now, can the SBA rule all over this? You bet. So that's why I'm just giving you my opinion, but kind of a different approach instead of a stern. I'm kind of going, you know what? Here's my view. All right. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Hey, real quick, we go live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 4 p.m. Central Daylight Time. I've got this cool series, if you don't mind me telling you. I've got this cool series. I've just done it for kind of a specific group of business owners, and maybe those that didn't get the PPP or they didn't qualify or whatever. But it's called Group 300. And I'm a CPA. It's kind of motivational, but it's got kind of a business principle each day, each week. And it's on Wednesdays, and there's one coming out today, depending on when you watch this, but on Wednesday, called By the Numbers. But By the Numbers is more for the person that hates numbers, right? Or they like numbers, but they haven't thought about it maybe the way that I'm presenting, because I'm now putting some philosophy behind one number. Wow, sounds deep. Every Friday I do an in-depth kind of look at something. It's kind of more meant for CPAs, EAs, tax pros, but anybody can benefit from it. And then from the fun side, Amanda and I have a reality show. Now, what's that all about? Well, you got to tune in because I'm helping 4 businesses. I'm not charging them, and we're having fun with the circumstances. But these are each businesses. They're successful, but then boom, like everybody, they got shut down because of COVID, right? And how do we come out of this? How do they come out of it? And so I'm just there lending a hand. And then you'll be able to see it. And as a small business owner, or even just as an individual that's thinking about a business, you're just like, what is the process? And the biggest thing I think small business owners will see is like, man, I'm not alone on this. I'm not alone on this. So anyways, and then I got updates and other videos. And hey, if you're watching all my videos, I hope you liked the troll one. All right, hey, I'd love it if you'd subscribe. Y'all have a great day. JJ the CPA out. Oh, I got to say it like this. You've never met a CPA quite like me.